Hello everyone, this is just a quick tutorial on how to train your little dog to jump into your arms on a verbal cue. I'm going to be training Epic to do this because I really like to train little dogs this behavior as a safety behavior for an emergency. Say when the dog is loose or you see something like a coyote coming out of the bushes, you can cue your little dog to jump into your arms and pick them up, because most of the time when we're scared or worried, we come at our little dogs in a different way than they're used to, which is in a panic, running at them to grab them, and guess what they do? They're scared and they run away because they've never seen you act that way and you're like a tall giant. So the best thing to do in my situation with my other little dogs, I have asked them to jump into my arms, and then I can turn my back on, say it's an approaching dog or whatever, rather than see what happens. Okay, so the first step is just the dog getting used to being on your lap. So if you have a super teeny dog, it's really easy. You can just lure them onto your lap, and you can use a clicker if you want, but you want to make sure to muffle it with some poster tack or lots of layers of tape. And I have a video in the description below on how to do that. It's the one about clicker training. And so that way, if you do use a clicker, it's going to be close to your dog's ears, and you don't want to punish them for going on your lap by making a horribly loud noise. So this clicker is muffled, but it's loud enough that you can hear it. And I'm going to lure her onto my lap like that, mark and reinforce. And then I can mark and reinforce if she stays on there. But she's found a crumb over there. So if your dog is reluctant to go onto your lap, you can first lure your dog onto a low mat and then place the mat onto your lap. Some dogs are extremely polite and they don't want to trample on top of you, or who knows why they don't want to go onto you. And you can first work on going to a mat for a couple of training sessions before then getting onto your lap. So if your dog is reluctant, you can also just mark and reinforce just one foot going up onto your lap like that, or eating the treats off of your legs at first to help them build confidence. Another thing you can do is be in a hallway where your legs are across the hallway and you're just throwing treats over you so that the dog is using you as a platform to go over and get the other treats. Now, I don't like to begin this exercise with a really, really young puppy that's going to be in a pet dog home, unless it's a teeny dog and you don't mind them just trampling you all the time or jumping up at you. But I wouldn't train it as the first behavior. I would train some calm behaviors first before working on jumping into your arms like this. Okay, so I have a little treat in my hand, and she's reliably jumping onto my lap. So I can say the verbal cue, jump up, show her the treat, and then I'm going to mark and reinforce her multiple times for staying on my lap like that. Good job. I personally don't like to use a clicker that much for this exercise because I'm going to start to use both of my hands in a second. So I'm going to lure her up onto my lap, saying jump up. Good. And then I'm going to feed her multiple treats. Good. When your dog is staying on your lap, you can add a release cue like free. So I'm going to say jump up. Epic. Good job. Good. And then I'm going to say free and then lure her off my lap. Good. Like that. And reinforce her for waiting until I say jump up again. Are you ready, Epic? Jump up. Good. Good. Free. Awesome. That was very good. So if your dog is doing really well, you can start to incorporate reaching and touching your dog. So if your dog is uncomfortable with this when not on your lap, you can work on first touching your dog like this as you feed a treat to get them used to it. And then when they're comfortable with being touched and eating the treat at the same time, you can start to reach, touch, good, and then feed a treat. So your dog is getting used to you just laying your hand on them like this, because when they jump into your lap, you're going to then grab them like that. Awesome. Free. Good job. So I'm going to say jump up, and as I give her the treat, I'm just going to hold her like this. Good. 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 Free. And I'm going to give her a treat for jumping off too. Now with a young puppy, I wouldn't have them jumping higher than their ankles repetitively. So if you do this trick where you're working with a young puppy, you can just pick them up and put them down after they've jumped up into your arms or your lap as a behavior, so that they're not jolting their joints as they jump off of you. And you want to keep repetitions to a minimum. So if they're enthusiastically jumping onto your lap as a young puppy repetitively, then that's not a good idea. But a little bit like this amount of training once a week, you know, where you're doing 10 or 15 repetitions, it's not going to make a big difference if they're just jumping a little bit to get onto your lap like this. Good job. Okay. The next step is pretending to have a treat and saying the cue, jump up. Good. And there's no treat there. And then you go and get the dog a treat. Good job. She's like, hey, wait a second. I didn't get my treat. I might have the treats on this side, so it's easier to deliver them. Ready? Epic, jump up. Good. There we go. That's better. Good job. Free. Awesome. Now I'm going to go back and use the lure to get her onto my lap, just so that the behavior doesn't deteriorate if she starts to get confused that the treat is out of the picture. Free. Jump up. Good. Now I'm going to practice while I'm kneeling. So I'm going to throw the treat over here so it's easier for her to jump up. And I'm going to say jump up and lure her onto my lap. And then hold her if she's ready for that step, and she is, like this. Good. Free. Awesome. Get it. Jump up. Good. Free. So for my dogs, part of the cue for jumping up is that I hold my arm out like this and I say jump up. Good job. Now I'm squatting like this, which not everybody can do, but this is what I do. I bend down and sit like this to get my little dogs to jump up into my arms. But if you wanted to work to where you have your little dog jump right into your arms because you can't bend over, or if you're sitting in a chair and just get them to jump into the chair, you don't have to do this step. You could just sit on a pillow or sit on the chair that you're using and get the dog to jump into your lap. If you're stationary in a chair, you can also raise the ground in front of the chair to get the dog, to make the distance easier for the dog. Jump up. Good. Good job. Jump up. Good boy. Good. Whoop. Are you ready? Epic. Jump up. She said, whoa, that's really high. Ready? Epic, jump up. Good. So in this situation, she's quite high up. So I'm just going to put her down on the ground as I'm feeding her the treat. And it's a great exercise also for teaching your dog to be held. So they're getting held very briefly to be put down on the ground. So you have the treat, you're holding them, they get a treat for you carrying them, and then they play the jumping up game again. Good job. Jump up. Good. So because I trained my terrier Tug to jump up onto my knee like this as the first way to pick him up, when I stand up completely, instead of having my legs together like that, as I squat down, I do this and have him jump onto this leg. I find that much easier to do than squatting. Wait. Good boy. Ready? Tug, jump up. Good. And then I can scoop him up. And I got him. If you have a little dog that's disabled or really old and you're worried about them jumping up, for example, Kiko, her back legs aren't made very well, so if I ask her to jump up, Kiko, jump up, she can really only jump up this high. But perhaps you have a dog that has injury or pain in their body, you can cue them to go into a crate like this, zip it up, and then if you need to put them in the car, you don't have to pick them up. You can just ask them to go in their crate, put it into the car, buckle them in, and then when they reach their final destination, lift the crate out, and then cue your dog to come out. Kiko, free. And sometimes she doesn't want to come out because she likes it in there so much. Hey, Kiko. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support my work, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can also become a supporting member of channel Kiko Pup by clicking the join button. See you later.